Okay, we're all good.
All right, welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting for the library, May 10th, 2023. I'm calling the meeting to order, and we'll take a quick roll call here. So Bob? Here. Shauna?
Here.
Kim?
Here.
Lisa?
Here.
Candy?
Here.
And Michaela is here as well.
I'm here.
All right, everybody's here and ready to go. All right. Anybody have any additions, corrections for the agenda? Okay. I will ask for approval of our last minutes. If everyone's had an opportunity to read those, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor of approving minutes? Aye. Okay, minutes approved. All right. So welcome to the citizens that are here today, and if anyone is online, welcome to you as well. We are now at citizen comments. Jandy, could you engage those that have given you their yellow form?
Okay, so as I call your name, you're welcome to come up to the podium and speak into the microphone. You have 3 minutes to speak. I will stop you once we get to 3 minutes. Our first one is Aaron Zasada.
Hi, thank you. I'm talking today about the 119C ordinance. I honestly hadn't been following a lot of it in the city council meetings. I've attended the last couple in person and online, and I was just trying to understand what exactly was going on. So I've been speaking to city council members and just trying to get the backstory. I just want to point out a couple of things. For the city's website page named City Council, the website's named City Council. The first line of the first paragraph states, "The City Council is the legislative and policy-making body for the city of Liberty Lake." For the first line of ordinance 119, 119A, and 119B, it states, "Whereas the city of Liberty Lake, any non-charter code city formed pursuant to RCW Title 35A, under the mayor council form of government, RCW Chapter 35A.12. For the first line of RCW 35A.11.020, it states, "The legislative body of each code city shall have power to organize and regulate its internal affairs within the provisions of this title and its charter." And for RCW 35A.11.050, statement of the purpose and policy, "The general grant of municipal power conferred by this chapter in the state of legislative bodies on non-charter code cities and charter code cities is intended to confer the greatest power of local self-government consistent with the Constitution of the state and shall be construed liberally in favor of such cities." What I understand is the way that Liberty Lake is organized, the RCW 35 sets or takes higher precedent, however you want to say it, over 27. I believe Seattle, Tacoma, Mount Vernon, Fort Townsend, Pullman, Anacortes, Puyallup, Aberdeen, Camas, Liberty Lake, and more are several of the departments where the libraries are under the umbrella of the city or the town. So the city council has say over what you do. You're not an elected authority figure. The city council is, and I just ask that you follow the laws as they're set forth in the state of Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next comment will be by Corey Shaker. Shaker, thank you.
Okay. This is actually I'm reading to you from my friend that lives in Liberty Lake. She can't be here, but she submitted it online. Good afternoon. I'm not Erica Bruschetti, but this is Erica Bruschetti, and I've been a resident of Liberty Lake since 2014. My family has enjoyed the library for many years. However, we've been very disappointed in the recent discussion between the library and the city council regarding the removal of a particular book. Sorry, I'm under the computer. I believe this book should, I don't believe this book should be on the shelves of our library, and most definitely should not be accessible to minors. It should be placed behind a counter or in a space that doesn't allow for children to get their hands on this content. If this book is kept in the young adult section, what happens when it's taken off the shelf, looked over, and left on the table where children now have access to this graphic, disturbing content? I have anxiety, so this is why I'm shaking. Viewing this book to a child, regardless of your sexual orientation or preference, would be traumatizing and confusing for a child to see such graphic content. When my daughter was in middle school, she checked a book out of the school library that had lots of explicit sexual content. She was very confused and asked me what they were doing. Once I read a few pages, I realized this book was not something she should be reading at her age because the content was too mature. I say this to explain that there are things we still need to protect our children from viewing because the content is above their comprehension. It can be disturbing and confusing to see these images that will never leave their minds. Why are you not protecting the kids from the possibility of seeing something that can hurt them at such a young age? You've made it clear that you have no interest in truly protecting our children, but the decision that your ability to have any input. It seems you have done this without consideration for what the majority of our community wants. Whether the content is straight or gay is not the issue, but the fact that this particular material is not kept in a place that is guaranteed children will not be able to view it. I should have skipped that part. Considering the stand the library has taken, I don't agree that the Board of Trustees should have the final say on this or future issues that so deeply involve or impact our community and tax-paying residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Bo Beagleman.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here today because you asked us to be here. I'm not here to change any heart and mind because it seems like you guys already made up your heart and mind. Your job is to serve and represent every citizen in the community. Your statement outside display partisan and alone should be disqualify all of you from this volunteer job. The reason why we didn't show up in any meeting because we trusted all the adults in charge were capable of negotiate and compromise the policy. We were wrong. And we were told that we were told by the librarian and the board of the Liberty Lake City Council had the final say, and we did just that. We follow your procedure. Then you turn around and accusing the citizen demanding the book canceling. The problem we have in this is intellectually dishonest from all of you. This is not about the book canceling. This is about age appropriating and solution for safe environment for our children and still have book in question available for the group of interest. One might wonder why such an unpaid position of the board and the trustee want to have total control of the policy and not check and balance from the city. First, who really started the book canceling culture? Not us. It's your people, not my word, your word. The American Library Association has shared a list of books from the Rectified Publishing course, the top 100. I'm just going to give you an example. To Kill the Mockingbird, Animal Farm, Lord of the Rings, Dr. Seuss, Gone with the Wind, Brave New World, The Jungle, and The Sun Also Rise, The Color Purple, Huckleberry Finn. Secondly, the statement that a gentleman brought up at the city council, one might offend you, but might not offend me, only applied one side. What happened to the public decency? There is a reason why we don't see graphic magazine like Penthouse, Playbook, Hustler in the library adult section, because or your dad would hide all your gentleman collection in the shop because we don't want children to see it. Let me challenge all the board of trustees. Next time when we fly in a crowded airplane, bring this book in question, genderqueer, and read it next to your fellow passenger, and you'll see what happens. Thirdly, we told that our job as a parent to do your job, and yes, here is the hypocrisy. Children are in the library. You say the parent should do our job, but in the public school, It's completely opposite. The school can facilitate gender transition without parents' knowledge or consent. What's good for the girls, what good is the goose, not good for the gander? So what is it? Lastly, you claim that 100% of people supported the board of trustee and the library policy. It's unsubstantiated. It's unsubstantiated, 100% false, because I don't agree with you. Where did you get your survey? Did you ask people who agree with you? Did your survey cover all demographic of people in the Liberty Lake or 99019 zip code? Summer is coming. If you would like, I would volunteer to do the survey for you. I don't brag about
Thank you. Your time is up.
degree in engineering, and I can do the survey for you. All I ask,
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Your time is up.
all
Thank Your time is up. Thank you.
So I would just like to acknowledge one written comment that we received today from Erica Fischetti concerning ordinance 119B.
You have anyone else, Sandy?
We have one more.
You have another one coming? Thank you.
So Lynn Atkins, president of Liberty Lake. So I'm here because I just want to say thank you to the library board. I know that you have gone through a significant amount of training in order to hold and effectively do the positions that you are executing today. This whole thing has become an intense cultural battle, really, that is going on in not just our community, but in communities all over America today. I want to say that I am 100% opposed to book banning of any kind. I feel that it is a direct violation of our Constitution and of the First Amendment for free speech and for intellectual freedom. And I applaud you for doing what is the right thing based on what you have been sworn to do as trustees of the library. And I thank you for it.
Thank you. Our next comment is by Neil Beagleman.
Since my wife ran out of time, I will just continue what she had written. But I first would like to say to comment on what was just said, we're also not for book banning at all. You just ask that you do your jobs and that the city can come to a simple solution with all the people that you serve, including those who might agree and might disagree. And one of the solutions that we would have for this particular book would be that you could label it that it contains nudity, mature adult content, and request that it be put in an appropriate section with a warning label for parents or behind the counter, so people can still check it out. And therefore you serve one part of your people who want the book to be allowed, and you also are able to serve another part of your people who don't want to ban books, but would like the particular books to be behind the counter or have warning labels so parents can do their jobs. We'd also like you to stop with terms calling us racist, homophobic, white supremacists, extremists, terrorists. They don't work for us. That's not who we are. We're citizens just like you guys. We just ask for sensible solutions like we used to have in America, where two sides can come together as one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Nope.
Okay.
Very nice. Say something, please. You may fill out a comment form.
Would you please fill out a yellow form for us, and certainly.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I hadn't planned on speaking today, but I want to introduce myself. My name is Margaret Barnes. and I am a city resident for 32 years. And the founding member of the library and original member of the Board of Trustees. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I know this is an emotional issue with the city and all the residents. Book banning is illegal. It should not happen here in Liberty Lake. I have heard all the comments that people have said. I've heard the comments that they have said against you, and I disagree with that. You have done a wonderful job. I know what it's like to prepare the obligations that are needed to withstand all the criticism that you are going to encounter. These regulations have been in existence for 20 years and they have worked well. It is a shame that the city has decided to issue this decree against our library. I am so sorry to hear this, and I just am beyond words. It upsets me a great deal to see that the city council has come into effect. This has been one of the worst areas that they could possibly enter into. Some of them have their own agenda, whether it be religion or aspirations of higher political aspirations. Please do what you can to go out into the public to tell the public what is really going on. I would urge you to attend the next city council meeting, and I plan on being there also if I'm physically able. Thank you for letting me speak at the last minute, but I just could not stand back and listen to some of the comments that have been raised. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're thankful, thank you to all for your participation and for your comments. Are we, anybody online?
No, I don't have anyone wishing to speak online.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we will move on with our agenda. And up next is our city administrator, Mark McAvoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a quick report. We've got, as you may have heard, the city is in the process of updating its 5-year strategic plan. And so as a result of that, we want to get as much resident, employee, visitor input as we can. And so we have a survey that's presently online that is designed to do that. It'll be open for the months of May and June. And if, for those of you who are here, there are pages like this over on the table with a QR code that takes you right to the survey. And so we would appreciate it if the Library Board of Trustees members would not only complete the survey, but also tell a couple of your friends and associates about it so that we can spread the word via person to person, as much as we're going to be advertising this on our channels and through city council meetings and all that kind of thing. And so as of this morning, we had just over 200 responses, which we're pleased with, but we obviously want more than that. We want to get as many as we can. And so, like I said, this will be ongoing. The survey will be open through the end of June. And then just a little bit of a picture beyond that. What we'll do is take all of that input, condense it into some analytics, feed that back to city council, and then at some point, city council will adopt the plan, and the design behind the input is to make sure that they understand what the residents are saying with respect to their preferences on strategic priorities and goals. So that's where we are, and that's really the only thing I have to brief this afternoon.
Jandy, do we have those flyers in the library?
Yes, we do have a post on the community bulletin board. I don't think we have any like on the desk yet.
which we can get you as many as you would like to have out there, yeah.
Yeah, and I know we've shared it once on our Facebook page, but we'll probably share it again. To really get the word out about everything.
So, Mark, what are the avenues that, the city residents can access that, survey? Besides flyers, and what are some other areas that they might see it so that they can engage in that survey?
Sure, so the city is also using its social media channels to kind of broadcast the fact that this is out there. But if you go to the city's webpage, libertylakewa.gov, you will see a button up at the top prominently displayed that says, hey, come take our survey. And that'll be up there for those 2 months as well. So if you are a regular visitor to our website, when you get onto that homepage, it'll be right up there in the top left corner.
How about the farmer's market?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I had heard David was putting flyers in to go to the farmer's market on the 20th when it opens.
Yeah, so that is a true statement. So we'll have a board out there with the QR code prominently displayed so people can hit it on their own devices, but we're also going to have iPads there. So if you are inclined to stand there and take it while you're in the booth, you can do that too. So we'll have both methods available throughout the farmers markets that go through the end of June.
It's not a long survey, because I did it like the first day.
Yeah, we're billing it as, give us 5 minutes to shape the next 5 years. You know, depending on how much detail you want to give us in some of the free-form fields, it may take you a little more than 5 minutes, but I want to say it's 11 questions. It's a fairly short survey.
Right, it's not that difficult, right? I thought the questions were really, direct, so that you could answer and we get information you want. And
Absolutely.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Mark. Friends of the library, Bob.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, Mr. Chair. Just a couple things, mainly things that the Friends of the Library are working on that they talked about at their last meeting, which their meetings are usually the final Thursday of the month at the library. The Friends have 2 major fundraising functions coming up. One is in June, which is our annual June book sale. We have 2 book sales. The Friends of the Library have 2 book sales a year, one in June, one in November. This one is on the same weekend as the citywide garage sales. So it would be the Friday and the Saturday. The citywide garage sales are only on the Saturday, and that is June 16th and 17th, if my calendar in my head is correct. That's the first thing that they're working on, and then there's a lot of planning and activity going on as well for the fundraiser that is held in July 12th, which is the Summer Soiree, which is a 2-hour evening of basically appetizers and desserts and wine or other beverages, should you so wish, which is co-sponsored with the Liberty Lake Winery. We also have a number of other things that go on in conjunction with that. One is there's an online silent auction, which will kick off on June 26th and run through July 9th. It closes on July 9th so that we can notify the winners that they need to pick up their winning baskets at the Summer Soiree. There's also will be ticket sales online starting right around the 25th of May in conjunction with kicking off a little bit ahead of time, because last year we ended up selling out about a week before the function, because we can only have so many guests at the winery, in keeping within the limit is 150, and keeping within all of the appropriate regulations that they have to follow. That'll be, as I said, you'll be seeing from the Friends advertising about that, mostly on Facebook, but also the Friends will be helping man the booth at the farmers market, talking about it. Much like the city, we have QR codes that will send people to the various sites for that. And then the final thing, we actually, this morning, a very, good group of, young high school students at Ridgeline High School that are part of the Ridgeline Business Club, which is a combination of two clubs, at the, Ridgeline High School regarding, one is DECA and the other one is Future Business Leaders of America. Back in February, they held a fashion show, to kick off, prom season coming up. And one of the things that they did, instead of just using the fashion show to raise funds for their own activities, they wanted to donate some of the proceeds of that fashion show to a city organization. And they picked the Friends of the Liberty Lake Library. So the check was presented actually, this morning. And I know about this since I was there taking pictures, for the Friends, to post on the Facebook page. And the, donation was, substantial. It was $368, which, considering that the tickets for the fashion show were, I think, $10, for the evening, that was a considerable portion of the money that they raised. And so we had a nice conversation with them. The board of the Friends this morning had a nice conversation with them about what the money would be used for, which is to help fund programs at the library, programs and different things that the library does that isn't included in their budget. So that's the Friends report.
Is,
Thank
are
you. Any
you guys
questions?
gonna post the photos in the Friends like newsletter that will go out as well?
We will, wearing my other hat, my social media hat for the Friends. We actually will have a post going out later today, which talks about the donation and has a picture of the students that were there this morning and their two advisors and three of the board members. And then we will probably put something in the next newsletter. We have more than one picture, but it's kind of hard to get them all
Yeah,
worked into one, but we wanted to make sure that we recognized it and doing it with Facebook and taking a picture of the students and a little blown up copy of the check. So that'll go out this afternoon.
okay, awesome, because then we can share it on our Facebook page and then it will be in our newsletter also.
Yeah, and you,
It's on the
and
Friends
you put it
page.
in yours, and then our newsletter is the Friends newsletter is always at the end
Yeah,
of
yeah.
yours as well.
Anybody have any other questions for
I have a
Bob?
question. If you're gonna do a blowout of the check, make sure you're.
We already did.
Perfect.
You're trying to forget that I was involved in the payments industry. 43 and all. No, we already did that. It was too small to actually, it was too fuzzy in the picture, but we wiped it out. I'm not the graphic designer, my wife is, and she's up there.
Great group of women that support our library, and the 4A is the biggest fundraiser for this group, and it is a lot of fun. If you haven't been there, it's a lot of fun. And have great entertainment and lots of visiting, just a good event for our city.
Tickets are May 25th.
Tickets will be the ticket sale website, which is a square link, will go live on probably the 25th, May 25th,
And what game is this for?
July 12th.
I hope all of us can attend. It's a good event. All right, we are on to city council. Sean.
I think everybody was at the city council meeting, so, the discussion pertaining to the library was there was a workshop on the library ordinance and then discussion during the meeting on the ordinance. They postponed voting on the second read until the next meeting so that they could have the city lawyer take a look at the language, and that's about it as far as updates related to the library.
Okay, thank you. And now we are on to Jandy, you're on.
Okay, so, throughout the past month, I have been working on the Washington Public Library's annual report. This is something that we are required to submit to the state every single year. So this was all of our library statistics for 2022. I sent you an email copy of this document because it's 20 pages long, and I did not want to print it out. But it basically, they ask us for every number under the sun. I wanted to go through some numbers that I found compelling to share with you. And then I thought we could also discuss if we want to share this at the next council meeting for our annual report that we're required to do each year for the ordinance. So I just highlighted some numbers I wanted to share with you. Currently, so these are all numbers for 2022. So January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. So in 2022, we had 6,229 library card users. 1,682 of them are non-residents. So when you do the math on that, currently 1/3 of our library users are non-residents. So I just thought that was particularly compelling. Other libraries that I've worked at in my time, generally they require you to pay to have a non-resident library card. Usually it's about $50 to $100 a year. And so we've never really had very many non-resident users because they didn't want to, pay $100 to use the library. So I found it compelling that our library cards are free. And because of that, we have a third of our population, our library population, who is not residents. So,
Jenny, do you know if other local libraries charge a non-resident user fee? Or the small libraries that are in our network or?
so I know in our network, which is CIN, which is Idaho, there's a few of them that charge $50. It's just a few of them. We were talking about it in our last CIN meeting, because they had to change something with the programming for it. So there's just a few. Where I was from in Utah, it was very common that every other library charged money. So,
Jamie, the definition of non-resident, is that outside of the zip code or outside of the city limits? So
yeah, so that's something that's a little bit different for Liberty Lake as well. So anyone who lives in the city of Liberty Lake has a resident card, and anyone who lives, around the lake and has basically anyone who has a Liberty Lake address, regardless of if it's considered the city limits or not, has a resident library card. So that is something that's also a little bit different for Liberty Lake, is that I know maybe when we incorporated 20 years ago, it was literally just those who lived in the city limits. And that's something that one of the previous library boards changed. So they gave it to everyone who lives in Liberty Lake, regardless of if
it
there's
has
a resident.
Liberty Lake mailing it.
Yes, that has the mailing address.
And that 1,600 of the non-residents does not include people with this Liberty Lake address.
Yes, so it does not include any of those people. So generally, it's probably the people I see the most that have them are Green Acres, Spokane Valley, some Spokane City, Newman Lake, Otis Orchards. So generally people that live in the county. And then, if they live in Post Falls, Hayden, Coeur d'Alene, they have the same card as us since they share our books with our network, so.
So Jenny, are all those non-residents, are they 99019, or is there another, is Liberty Lake address under another, zip code other than 99019?
So I think for the city limits, it's 99019, but, I think over in River District, it's 99016.
Okay.
So generally, if it's a 99019 or 99016 with Liberty Lake, then it's a resident.
Okay.
Yeah, so just nowhere else that I've ever worked would I have seen that high of non-residents, so. The annual volunteer hours for 2022 were 567. So generally, we have, our volunteers come in once a week. Generally, they'll come in for 1 or 2 hours and they will do shelving or pull holds for us. And these are people that come consistently every single week to the library. So we are so grateful that they put in 567 hours of volunteer work for us last year. So, and yes, those are our like adult volunteers that come in consistently every week for us. They started coming back, I guess, full-time in 2022. In 2021, we had very limited volunteer hours for just like the last quarter of the year, starting in September. Our total operating revenue for 2022 was $632,478. About half of that is our salary and wages expenditures. The rest of it is for our library operating expenses. Let's see. So last year in 2022, our total physical collection of, so this is books, audiobooks, and videos, is 27,105 items. So those are physical items that we have on our shelves or at someone's house because it's checked out.
Are those items that our library owns?
Yes, that's our physical collection that we own ourselves. Our ebook collection currently is 72,681. So it is a much higher number of items that we have in our ebook collection.
Could you help me out with that a little bit? Is that, are those also owned by the library, or is that a kind of a share of the ebook thing?
So the ebooks are, ebooks are not really owned. It's kind of like you pay a yearly subscription to them. So that's the items that we pay for a subscription to through the state of Washington. So we have a subscription through the Washington Anytime Libraries, which is for all the libraries in Washington state. And then we also have one through Idaho, through our CIN network, that is a much smaller collection. But that's our combined number of items that we have in our ebook collection. This is the thing that I found really interesting about this is our circulation. So I feel like maybe in the past 5-10 years, there's been this idea that ebooks are going to take over and we won't need physical books anymore. Our checkouts say a lot differently. So our circulation of physical items last year was 97,926. So that's how many books got checked out at the library, 97,926. How many ebooks and e-audiobooks got checked out last year was 25,000. That's about a quarter. So
I see it opposite, print materials at 24,000. Oh, these are, sorry.
Checkouts.
The collection.
yes, so this is the checkouts. So at least for our community, they still very much prefer physical books to electronic materials. Let's see. The library was open a total of 2,275 hours last year. So that's how many hours we were open to the public, 10 to 6 or 10 to 8. And total visits to the library last year were 50,931 visits. So that is up significantly from last year, which makes sense because 2021 was COVID.
Coming out of food.
Yes, coming out of COVID.
Does visits, Jandy, count people coming for meetings and stuff? Is it a count of everybody who goes through the door?
Yes, it's a count of everybody that goes through the door. So we have a people counter camera sensor that counts everyone that goes through the door.
That doesn't count the people coming in after
After
hours
hours.
or community meetings, does it?
It counts every person that comes through the door. So I think, but you're right, I think it's not on, 3 in the morning, it's not turned on.
But
So, yeah.
Is it on the back door too?
No, it's just on the front door. Yeah, so it's on, who comes through the front door. So I guess, Kiwanis, who comes in very early in the morning and uses our back door, it does not count them. So,
So the number's actually higher. We're being conservative there.
yes, so it would be, a little bit higher. Books. Let's see, so books that we received from CIN last year for our patrons was 18,097. So it's one of those things where I'm coming from a library system where we only had the books on our shelves. I love having CIN where we're able to get books that are checked out or books that we don't carry for our patrons in a very timely manner. So that's an amazing resource. So the last thing I just wanted to share was our programming numbers. So total, in 2022. So, 2022 in January and February of that year, due to Omicron, we were not doing any programs at the library. And then, as far as teen and adult programs, we weren't doing any of those until May, when Michaela came on. So our numbers are a little bit lower than what I will expect for this year. But our total number of attendees at programs that we had at the library last year were 6,403. The interesting thing about that is 5,000 of those were kids at story time. So that is our highest attendance for programs, is our very young families, 0 to 5 storytime kids. We do storytime 4 days a week. So that obviously causes the number to be inflated.
So I have a question about your
Yes.
story time. Do you guys take turns telling the story, or is Aaron the storyteller?
So me and Aaron both do them. Right now, Aaron does them 3 days a week and I do them 1 day a week. So yes, we do Monday through Thursday. So that is our highest, population that we have that comes to, that uses the library, is our Children for Children's programming. The other thing that just reminded me of is, so we had 97,000 checkouts last year, like I was telling you. 63,000 of those were our children's materials, which the survey classifies children's materials as ages 0 through 12. So not even the teens or the adults, it's just 0 through 12, 63,000. So that's 2/3 of that number is for our children's materials. And then our adult materials, which are, it's in this survey, it's considering 13 to 99, age 99, would be 30,000 checkouts. So that's just something that I really want to keep in mind as we are designing our new future library, is that our highest population is our family population. And so that's something that the Spokane County and the Spokane City Library have been talking a lot about as they've been building and remodeling all their new libraries. And so I know I've mentioned to you guys, like with their surveys, that something that their communities really wanted to see was like a children's play space. And so that's something that I am really interested in designing in our library. And to me, I feel like this is a piece of that, is showing how much our very young families are using the library as far as checkouts, and also just as far as coming to the library, attending the library, coming to story time. They need something to do, it's a rainy day, they come to the library, and having that an amazing space for those families in our future library.
So Jan, I have one other question.
Yeah.
With all that information that you send to the state, and they compile it, is there a way that we can see how, do they use it to compare libraries like ours to other cities or other populations like ours, or is there a way to access that kind of information?
I'm sure there's a way to access that kind of information. I know that they keep track of this for their records. They also send it on to like Washington, DC. The Institute of Museum and Library Services gets a lot of this information. I know they take it into consideration when they're doing grants and that sort of thing.
Thank you.
So I know that they use it for a lot of things. The very last thing I wanted to mention is that I had to submit a couple of technology numbers. So we had the number of uses on our computers last year were 1,268. Some libraries have like a whole room of computers and people are using those computers all the time. That is not the case with Liberty Lake. We only have 5 public computers and there are times when they're all in use, but it isn't the main reason that people come in the door at our library. So I would say these numbers are consistent with what they've been in the past. But they're not gonna blow, Spokane Public Library out of the water. They have a lot more people who are needing to use the internet. Yes,
Does, that's the count of people using, or how many times the computers used. Do we have any ability to count how many people log into the Wi-Fi? Or not?
I don't know. That's a really good question, is how many people are using the Wi-Fi, because the Wi-Fi is available 24/7. It's available in the parking lot. And then obviously, just in the library. So that's something I would have to ask Todd about is logging into the Wi-Fi. Because yeah, that's something that went up astronomically at other libraries during COVID, was nobody could come into the library. So a lot of people were using the Wi-Fi of libraries that, out in the parking lot. And some cities did like expand the range of their Wi-Fi from the library to like the park and stuff. And I do think some of our parks do have internet access here.
It would be interesting because we're going to be, looking at updating the computer and internet use policy. So,
Yes.
if we know that, or, if we are tracking it, we probably need to highlight that in the policy that, we reserve the right to do that just in case it needs to be called out.
Yes. Yes, so that's a really good, okay, I've noted that here in my notes. So the last thing I had is I had to track how many hits we have on our website. And I had a heck of a time figuring out how to do that because the module that you use on the website to do that in the past is no longer there. So I reached out to David G, who's our city communications specialist, and he's over the website. He found out for me how many hits we had on the website, which is 27,707. The thing that I found compelling is he said, the gentleman who was talking to you on the phone at Civic Plus said, your number one hit for your whole city website, so this is, all parts of the city, is your homepage. Your number two hit is the library page. So that made me feel really good.
Are those hits or are those users? Like, because each image could be a hit. So if a page has 10 images on it, that could be 10 hits.
Mhm.
Or is that like individual users, do you know?
What?
It seems at 20,000 that those would be users, not.
Yes, I had assumed it was users, and maybe I'm using the word hits to mean, maybe I'm using the word.
So I know that Dennis before for my company, but I know that hits are based on IP address.
Okay.
And so if our IP address is really that.
Different users, but that would probably consist of different users. I had interpreted it as like 27,000 people went to the website this year.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously it could be the same people multiple times that are, putting books on hold and that sort of thing.
Sure.
Without
running a whole series of analytics on it.
Yeah.
It's difficult, plus it's buried within the cities. So it's not a standalone site with its own
Yeah,
IP.
Yeah.
It's a page and a series of pages within the city's website,
yeah.
which is managed by Civic Plus.
Do you have any other questions for Jandy? Jandy, have you given us all of the information you wanted to give us on the report?
Yes, so that's everything that I wanted to share with you as far as my report.
Okay.
And then I know it's on our agenda today to talk about our annual report for the council.
Right.
So,
Jamie, I guess I'm thinking about the 2/3 of our circulation checkouts are for children's materials.
yes,
Are there guidelines for like what percentage of our collection should go with our checkouts? Like, do you feel like our children's collection is adequate to meet the needs of our community, of the kiddos?
so,
Checking out 63,000 books.
yeah.
I think based on the space though. It's full.
So we do account for usage, I guess you would say, like in our budgeting, as far as how much money gets allocated to each chunk of the library. I know when they did a survey of our space needs assessment in 2019. The feedback that we got was that the main thing was that our teen collection was too large for the number of people that were using the teen collection, sorry. So that one of their recommendations had been to shrink that collection a little bit and update it to newer materials. Whereas from their assessment, our children's collection and juvenile collection was adequate for where we were at.
Are children's books cheaper than adult books, or are they about the same price when you're buying it for libraries?
It depends on the book. Picture books run from. Your average picture book is $14.93. Your average juvenile book is $7 to $9. What would you say for teens and adults?
The teens are probably about 14 as well. Adults are more like hardcover adult books are more like 17 to 28, different, like nonfiction is usually at the 28 range. Fiction is usually about 17, 18.
Yeah, I would say the same for juvenile nonfiction is like 28. Picture book nonfiction is, I would say probably still in like the $14 range. So yeah, our adult books are the most expensive ones in the collection. So, and then also, you know, you have your super cheap, you know, $2.99 paperbacks.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking, like, it's not a 50-50, like half the budget should go to one and half the other, because you can get twice as many books for children for the same budget. Now that's.
Yeah. So when I'm buying picture books, I buy way more picture books every month than I do chapter books or teen books or that sort of thing.
Great, because that's
Yeah.
what's getting used.
Yes, and they're skinnier,
Yeah.
so you can fit a lot more on the shelf.
There.
Yeah.
All right. You good, Jandy?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Okay. So then now we are on to a discussion about our, it says annual report, but it would actually be our quarterly report that would include the annual report that Jandy just gave to us. So the discussion, Jandy, I'll let you kind of bring up what you're thinking on that, and then we can discuss it.
So, I have to submit the annual report every year to the state. Usually the deadline for that is, May, June. And so to me, that makes the most sense of the time that we would give our annual reports to council. In the past, we have given annual reports to the council in November. But the report is always incomplete because the year is not finished. So my proposal going forward would be to give this annual report to council in May. When I'm basically giving it to the state at the same time. Because then I'm not having to do the work twice, and the work isn't even, you know, the whole picture of, you know, how the library did in 2022. So that's my first thought to you guys would be to, if we do it, you know, this next week, telling that story to council, like, hi, we're here to give our annual report to you. Yes, it's May, but this is why we would like to give it to you in May. So, and I was hoping to do it now before I go on maternity leave. So my vision had been that, you know, me and whomever else would like to work on this together could do that now before I go on leave, in case they have a strange question that hopefully I would be able to understand, having lived in these numbers for the last month. So I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that.
Perfect, and I was just checking the bylaws to make sure, since we did get it in November in the past, we didn't have a, and it just says we have to annual.
We have to. do
Okay.
annual report, or the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm on board with Jandy's idea, giving it in May rather than waiting till November. It seems quite to line up and make sense to line up with whatever reports given to the state and given to the council at the same time. And this is the right timing, because everything is based on that information that Jandy has compiled for the state. The question is, do we want to do it at the next council meeting? Before Jandy is called into a different role?
The next couple months, yeah.
I'd rather did it with GMD available.
Yeah.
He has the most background on it.
I would agree with that. as well. How does everyone else feel
So you're talking this coming Tuesday?
this coming Tuesday?
Mm,
Janet, let me ask you first, will there be any difficulty in getting that on the agenda? Because it's gonna take longer than, a 5 minute or whatever presentation.
I have preemptively put it on the agenda,
Okay, well, there's.
with the city clerk. Just because it's easier to take it off.
Got it.
So-
So we are already on the agenda.
Yeah.
Good, okay. Just want to clarify it. Yes, Bob.
My thought was, and I know there's 2 council meetings in May. But I didn't remember the time frame of when you go out on maternity leave.
So we already had the first council meeting on May
So
2nd,
there is not one on the 30th then?
No, there's just.
as, not as of this point. As of this point, it's the 2nd and the 16th.
Yeah, so they're regularly scheduled on the first and third Tuesdays, and then unless they call a special meeting for some purpose, there would not be one on third.
Right. My concern is, and I'm not, I agree that it would be great to have Jandy there. My concern is, given that so much that happened at the last council meeting that has been pushed over to the next. Because of, going through the ordinance and everything else, I'm concerned that by the time that report would be given in the scheduling of the council meeting, whether or not there's gonna be enough time to do it justice. So,
So,
So maybe, go ahead.
As far as I know, in the past, we've been under the business section. Whenever it's like the planning commission or everybody else gives their report, so it would be before any votes or ordinance reading would take place. I think it's a good idea because some of the numbers would be prudent for them to review based on the stuff that they're wanting to draft in the ordinance. It would be good just to have that data for them, so.
Mark, can you weigh in a little bit? Do you know what what it looks like for the city council? Your opinion on timing for us to give our report?
Yeah, I mean,
Is it a jam packed?
I would consider it to be a moderate, agenda, although having said that, I personally believe that, this is the right time to provide that story. And so I wouldn't put too much thought into how much time that's going to take. I would take the time that we need to tell the story that the data tells.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Appreciate that comment. Okay, so, I think we, first of all, before we decide to do this, or I ask for, a motion and a vote to do this and change our annual report. Is there anyone that has the time or willing to take the time to work with Jandy in this presentation?
Jandy, have you started putting that presentation together?
so, I have stuff written down. I don't have anything in the presentation yet. My thought had been to take in the ordinance that has some numbers that they require. So to start with those numbers and then any other numbers that I found particularly compelling. I wanted to include some photos. Of, like as we're talking about, this is how many people give story time, photos of story time. To, make it so it's not just like everyone's staring at a spreadsheet. And then also including just some things that have been going on in the library like this quarter. So I was wanting to include some stuff with like the Ridgeline High School that Michaela's gonna talk to you about. To just give them, these are some numbers from the past year. And then these are a few other things that we would have included in a quarterly report that we have been working on. Like in the community this last quarter.
And they would have that whole annual report.
Yeah, so my thought would be to give them the packet of a PDF of this huge report and then a PDF of our presentation for them to have as well. So I don't think that it'll take me very long to get the presentation ready. So I'm happy to do that portion if someone would be happy to take a second look over it. Because I know like Kim, when you were helping me last time, she pointed out some stuff I haven't thought about to include. And then we could work together on who's going to share which pieces of data. Because I kind of anticipated that it'd be a team effort between me and someone else on giving this report.
Right,
So, okay,
perfect, good deal, thank you. That's great. All right, so can I have a motion to move our annual report to, the May, June time frame? Second, okay, all in favor of changing that?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, everybody says aye, so that's approved. So Jandy, you are on for May 18th this time around, so it could be May or June next year, because that's the timeline we're gonna move to, but today, this time around, it'll be May 18th.
16th.
Or 16th. I don't know why I had 18th. Isn't that when Mount, made St. Helens Blue or something like that? I don't know. Yeah.
That was the last April, or April 18th.
Oh, that's probably why. Okay,
So I will get the draft ready to go, and then I'll send it out to all of you to review also, but me and Teresa will do the most editing to it.
great. Thank you. And thank you for all that work on compiling all that information. That is a task. Thank you very much. All right, so now we are on to Michaela, who's going to give us a report on the things that she does with the teen group and the Ridgeline. And I just want to say before Michaela, you get started on, it is fantastic that we're developing an alliance with Ridgeline, that high school in our library. I think that's fantastic. Anyway, you're on.
Okay, thanks for having me again. Last time I was here, you guys had asked me to just compile a little report on my TAG group. TAG stands for Teen Advisory Group. And really what that is a chance for the teens in our community to come volunteer at the library. A lot of them need that time, because they have to turn it in for school or different clubs that they're doing, but all of them have chosen to do it at the library instead of other places. What we're trying to do with the TAG group is really give them a sense of belonging and ownership in the library, get them into leadership roles and support their needs and their interests. So I have a group currently of about 16 TAG members. They're 13 to 18-year-olds, and they represent homeschool, Selkirk Middle School, Ridgeline High School, Central Valley High School, and Gonzaga Prep currently. I do have one volunteer who comes all the way down from GPrep, which is pretty cool. In the last 12 months, we've had 16 members volunteer at least 1 hour of their time. And this year, from January to now, I've had 55 volunteer hours just from teens at the library. So they're there a lot and they do a lot of cool stuff. In front of you guys, you have a little packet of pictures and stuff from just different things that they've done, from the Halloween party to the Lego challenge. I'll talk about some of that stuff. That last page I'll especially talk to you about because it's very cool. But what they do with the library, typically one of the most popular things for them to come in and do is just set up and tear down our meeting room. When we have children's events going on, they'll make craft samples, and sometimes they stay for the programs and they guide those younger kids through crafts or STEM programs. So they're there usually for about an hour, hour and a half, actually working with our younger kids at the library. Sometimes they curate displays in the YA area. So last year I had a volunteer who did all of like the Heritage Month. So she especially did like the Hispanic Heritage Month, the Human Rights Month display in December. Those displays in the YA area were done by a teenager. And she came up with all of her own books that she wanted to include and her own artwork and that sort of stuff. Yeah, so they don't just put up books, they'll put up like different art displays, different colors. Right now we have like a big yellow background down the wall, so. Yeah. They also offer ideas and feedback for our summer programming. So last year, especially when it was brand new, I had them weigh in on what sorts of prizes they wanted and how they wanted to participate in summer reading. I told them they could have anything under the sun and they asked for gift cards. So, but that's, yeah, that's fine. That's what they chose. So, exactly. So that's what they suggested as a prize for summer reading, but that was all directed by them. They got to come up with what they wanted. they also help us plan and staff some of our huge events. So on that front page, you'll see Halloween from 2022. The Friends also help us staff that event, but last year I had 4 teenage volunteers at Halloween. There were about 320 people who came through the library that night, so it was packed and crazy busy. Those teams came in and they set up the tables, they set up mini golf. They greeted incoming participants with like pirate hats and told them where to go in the library. They moved a bunch of painted rocks from the back room to the front room so that people could get their rocks on their way out of the door. Lined up people for a costume contest and took pictures and tore down afterwards. So they were there that night for like 5 hours. They were awesome. They also helped come up with some of the rules and regulations for the Lego competition, which had 14 entries, but over 1,000 votes. So from January to February, those were in the library, people could vote on them, more than 1,000 people voted. So that was all set up by the teams. This month, I'm especially proud of them. I'm going to brag on them a lot. They came in and moved over 4,000 books in the adult fiction collection. So previously it had been organized by genre. In order to keep the library open to the public and not have to shut down for a day, they came in on a Sunday. I had 5 volunteers come in on their Sunday, their day off, and volunteered 22 hours that day and moved 4,000 books. And they're still smiling at the end of it, which was really good. So, yes. And then the last thing that they do is sometimes they come up with their own events. So last December, they came up, they wanted to do an obstacle course. So they came in and they set up an obstacle course, and that day was crazy snowy. All of the kids in the community, I swear, were in the library that day because there was nowhere else for them to go. So 34 kids were like doing spy moves and stuff through the library. That was all set up by teen volunteers. And this summer, they're actually setting up a STEM camp at the library. I had nothing to do with this. I had 3 of my volunteers approach and say, we would like to teach a week-long STEM camp for the library. So that last page in your guys' packet is from their rough draft that they brought to me ahead of time. That was all the things they had planned out. They have all their activities planned. They have purchasing lists. They have a schedule. And that was at their very first meeting. So they're really incredible. They do a lot of good stuff for the library. So if you happen to see them around, please give them a pat on the back. They're really excellent young people in our
I was
library.
gonna say, you have a pretty impressive group. Do they work at all with their advisors or anything at school in designing some of this stuff? Or is it just with you?
It's usually just with me, but the way that some of them hear about it is, especially at Ridgeline, like I'm in contact with the teachers who do like their DECA, their Key Club, like the sorts of like leadership classes, and usually they'll send them my way just to do projects.
How do they apply? How do they
Yeah.
get involved?
Oh, yeah. Usually they just stop by and see me, but I do have a form that says, you know, this is what we expect of our tag volunteers. I can get that to you, but it's also on the website. Usually it just requires attendance at 1 monthly meeting and then some sort of volunteer service later on during the year. Yeah.
That's great.
For the STEM camp, are they aware that they can check out equipment from Gizmo?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Cool.
Would you mind just telling everyone about our partnership that we've had with Ridgeline this month? It's team related, but not tag related. Yeah. So, yeah, this month, especially, I've been in contact a lot with Ridgeline High School. The Parks and Arts Commission had asked us to work on those graffiti barrels that they want out for the parks. Unfortunately, a lot of the kids are really scheduled. So they're really busy on weekends when we were hoping they would come to the library. So I reached out to the school to ask if they would like to help us take those on. So they now have 4 of the barrels, all of the paint. Their students are doing those 4 barrels that will be out in the parks and I believe at the farmers market. We had also asked them to do some of the graphic design for our summer reading. We always get art. This year, none of us loved the art that the pre-packaged art that came with it. And the theme is all together now. So really reaching out to our high school and getting them to submit some of their graphic designs for our flyers and our Facebook and all of our marketing for summer reading was kind of cool. We're really excited to see what they come up with. And then they also have a display up at the library right now of artwork that they did in one of their graphic design classes. Yeah, it's in the juvenile section and you should check it out. It's all free-handed stuff that they drew of book covers. They're really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's just a great partnership that you guys are establishing with that new high school. I guess that's really cool. That's, and not just cool, it's important, and then it also establishes again, just, how valuable an asset our library is to our community.
That's Jenny, that would include that.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I wanted to include some stuff about what our tag team has been doing with the quarterly report, and then also the partnerships that we've established with the high school. So I think the high school's in its second year.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're glad that we're finally really, because, you know, she had established some relationships with DECA and we're getting people coming in, but it's really great now that we have this partnership. So,
Okay. Any other, thank you, Michaela. That was excellent. Thank you very much. All right, so now we are on to, continued review of ordinance 19C. As you know, there is a red line version that will come before the council on Tuesday night. I'm not sure if that'll be the final. I think it's for a second reading again, or I'm not quite sure how it's gonna be presented on. Mark, can you help me out on this one? Is it presented as a second read or is it presented as the final proposal?
No, it will be presented on the ordinance at the second read.
Okay,
As it has been for the last several reads.
thank you.
And it will remain that way unless council either votes up or down or votes again to move it to another meeting.
Got it. So the vote will really be to either revise or substantiate and then provide another meeting for, or put it on the agenda for a vote later on or at the next meeting after it's approved.
So several things could happen. They could, somebody could make a motion to adopt that version of the ordinance, which they could vote to do. They could also vote that down. So in that way, it would either pass or fail. They could also, like they have in the last several meetings, wordsmith again. And then vote on that wordsmith version or push that wordsmith version to a later meeting.
Got it. Thank you. Jandy? Not sure, did you want to do that? Did I read the email wrong?
I had just said that I have the red lines if you wanted to go through each section that they've made changes to, or us to review.
Yeah, I read the attorney's section of that.
He
I
was
got
just
the
saying,
impression that, okay, go ahead.
he was just saying that this is, he has not gone through this yet. This is just what the council has presented to him. So that's the version that he gave to us. So these are all the changes that have been made public.
My understanding from the last city council meeting was he had asked for time just to make sure that their suggestions that they voted in were consistent, there weren't any contradictions, and if there was stuff that he felt needed to be clarified because of it was ambiguous or if there was a contradiction, he would present that to them at the next meeting, but the city council can either vote on it as written or to turn to his considerations as an amendment and then vote on it, or as Mark said, move to another, then there's all the other things, but I don't think.
I got the impression that he wanted us to withhold any kind of comments on this until we can finalize it with Kelsey.
He just didn't want us to, I guess, be like, oh, that's not what we thought it was. But he was fine if we wanted to read through it.
We just want to look at what
Yeah.
what the current, okay, red line
Yeah.
version is.
He just
Okay.
said he wasn't ready for any notes.
All right, I just
So-
want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I just kind of wanted to go through and highlight the changes that have been made, just so we're all on the same page.
Thank you.
just because there's been so much back and forth and
Right.
sitting in the audience, we didn't have any paper in front of us or anything.
But and some of this could change too after
Yes.
Tom looks at it,
Yes,
the attorney looks at
so,
it. That's the way I understood your email. This is just what was captured
by company,
by Kelsey in all of the prior meetings, because it's been probably 3 meetings meetings and or workshops where they voted on specific pieces. So this is all her capture,
yeah,
but it doesn't reflect what the attorney has.
yeah, he said he might make edits and change some of the wording to be clear.
So this is not the edited version that will be presented to it could be, it may not be, that would be presented to the council.
Yeah.
For tonight's agenda.
My guess would be that it's not the final version.
I would probably guess the same thing, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
My intent was just, these are all the pieces that have been changed, so we're all on the same page
Got it.
about where it is. 'cause
Yeah,
it's
there were a
been
lot of
confusing.
things going around, a lot of changes, and everybody was a little confused at the end of the last meeting. So it's probably not a bad idea, just so everybody knows where we're at right now,
Mhm.
but knowing that it could still be
Change.
revised. Got it.
So yeah, the version that will be presented at the council meeting, will be published, they said Friday by 5. So,
Got it.
so the first change they made is under section 2, appoint a city council member to attend board of trustees meetings as an observer. And then item F, individually approve or reject all current Liberty Lake Public Library policies retroactive to each of the latest adopted versions currently in place as of February 21st, 2023, along with any new or revised policies from this date forward with a simple majority vote.
So that means they're gonna go back and look at all of the library policies and decide if they approve of them or not.
Yes,
Well, it doesn't mean they are.
it just means
can.
they can, yeah,
If they can, if they choose to. It doesn't mean that they are going to, but if they can choose to do that, according to the way this is worded. But as I
Just like to
said,
clarify that.
yeah, as I said, the attorney has not had a chance to
Correct.
review all of this yet.
Right, and he seemed to think, again, we're all just basing it on, sitting through the same meeting,
Right.
but he seemed to question, how to word that. And I think this wasn't where they got into the discussion about confirm or deny. I think that's a different,
That's a different section.
I'm sure he may have the same questions about language in there too.
Okay,
So down, let's see, at the end of section 2, the city council or mayor will not initiate any book bans. The city council will confirm or deny any book bans that are made by the board of trustees. The city council's decision regarding a book ban by the board of trustees will be final. So that's the last section that they changed on Tuesday at the last meeting.
Right.
Yes,
that was the.
yes.
Yeah, like Councilman Boyer.
That was the approve tonight.
Yeah,
Right.
so I think Sean was trying to figure out better verbiage to convey what Mayor Pro Tem meant, because I know there was a lot of confusion. But everyone seemed to get on the same page about it, but yeah.
And I think he was trying to
Language
figure
is a
out
little bit
where it
confusing.
goes too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it goes in section 2 or another section.
Right.
Okay, so section 5 is the next spot that has changes. So they added a quarterly and annual report. So we have been giving quarterly reports, but it was, I guess, not required by the ordinance. So they have established quarterly and annual reports. At the end of each quarter, the Board of Trustees shall designate a representative to brief the City Council at its regularly scheduled meeting on the current state of the library and any proposed library policy changes. It then goes on to talk about all the statistics required in our annual report. And the thing that they added was the usage of any computer and technology equipment, which I thought was a great addition.
Yep.
Since, in 2003, that wasn't on the city's radar as much.
So we're gonna have to ask for an exception to this then, because it says at the end of each year, the board of trustees shall report on the annual.
Yeah. So maybe that's something we can bring up in our meeting, sorry, in our discussion, because yeah, I hadn't caught that. Just to me, it makes sense to do it after the end of the year, so then it's actual complete numbers.
Yeah.
So let's,
Well, I think it's,
we're planning to highlight that, and I'll make sure that we point out in the ordinance, we would like that highlighted.
right, I think it's important to make clear that we want to make that annual report consistent with the state's requirement for our annual
Yes.
report. And I think if that's put in there, I think
Yeah,
we should be.
it makes a lot of
Well, and
sense,
at the end of that section, it says the board of trustees shall file a copy with the state librarian.
which is what this annual report is.
I think we just have to move
Yeah.
the,
Anybody who's dealt with any finances of any kind knows.
So-
this. You report in the next quarter what your last quarter.
Yes,
So
yes.
even here where it says at the end of each quarter, the board of trustees, we would,
we would be a quarter in arrears.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So since we're not gonna be part of the discussion on Tuesday night about the ordinance, is that an email that you'll send to everybody before Tuesday night?
No, my plan would be
In our
in our report, which is before the ordinance, explain
Okay,
this,
gotcha.
if that makes sense.
Yep, yep.
So that would then ideally give them an opportunity to make that another change.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Well, they're gonna go through it anyway, so if there are some things that need to be, updated, and that is an update,
mhm.
that would be a good thing. Okay,
Okay, so this is something I hadn't caught, let's see, so sorry, scroll down to the next page under appointments. The board of trustees shall be appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council. All voting members of the appointed board shall be residents of the city of Liberty Lake. So I had normally had a discussion about it. I hadn't noticed the word voting.
Yeah.
So if we do have a non-voting member, they could be,
right,
on the lake or,
Yeah,
in the valley or anywhere.
but they'd also have to change. I don't know if they'd have to change other things. The discussion around that was because they may have non-voting, they're suggesting adding non-voting members to other commissions. And because there are non-city residents that use the facilities, that use the city.
Yeah,
But it does say we'll have 5 board of trustees shall consist of 5 individuals.
mhm.
And so is it going to be 4 voting members and 1 non-voting member, or is it an additional board member just not voting? So they're gonna,
Yeah.
if they do
so,
end up appointing other people, they will have to.
Yeah,
make other
so
changes.
if they change that,
yeah, because I know like planning commission,
excuse me 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they change that under section D, then they will have to address section C. Yeah, got it.
No, section A.
Or section, section, right, yeah, section A.
yeah, they need to refer back to if they're going to create 2 classes of members. Then they need to do that before they
Got
call out 1 class.
it. Yep, section A would have to be.
I mean, they could make the change to B, they just can't do anything else. They can't appoint non-voting members as members of the board until they change A. So, I mean, they can go ahead and move with that, it's just they'll have to, in the future, make another change to the ordinance. If they want to.
Go ahead.
oh, you're fine. I just know like planning commission has non-voting members.
Sure.
I would just be curious if what their ordinance says, if they have, 5 and then they have 2 non-voting, like, is that in the ordinance or is that just something they've done over time, but maybe haven't corrected in the ordinance? That's just a curiosity.
Yeah,
So,
okay,
let's see, we're down here to removal. Let's see, or I guess, okay, so it didn't change anything that looks like that except for font. Let's see, so down to powers and duties. Adopt such bylaws, rules, and regulations for the guidance of the Board of Trustees. 2, adopt and revise Liberty Lake Library policies subject to section 2F. So I guess they're just referring to the change that they made earlier in the ordinance,
Right.
which is
refers back
to
the
approve or reject the
approve or
policies.
reject current ones.
Okay, so I guess they're just reflecting that there. And then, sorry, I'm flipping over to the next page. So it looks like down here in section 9. Retaining books. So any person who willfully retains any book, newspaper, magazine, pamphlet, manuscript, computer, or wireless device, or other property belonging to the Liberty Lake Public Library, for an excess of 30 days after notice in writing to return the same, when said notice is given after the expiration of time, such article or property may be kept, shall be guilty of a class 4 civil infraction. So I guess they're just adding computer or wireless device. So that's great because we.
That's in our policy anyway, isn't it?
Yes, it's in our policy.
About retaining books, that's in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now it's reflected in the ordinance. And then they just added a new repealer. So that just says that, yeah, the legal language stuff. Avoided the. So,
planning commission does state it'll be 7 members, at least 5 shall reside in the city. People are looking at you.
okay. Does it say something voting versus non-voting?
I don't see.
Okay,
So, I don't know, very. No, it just is at least 5. that
Yeah.
shall reside, in the city. That's all.
okay. That's just the only other board I can think of that has voting and non-voting, but maybe some of the other commissions do as well, I don't know.
So they just need to be aware that they'll need to change it in the future if they don't change it, if they want to add non-resident.
Well, at least we have a document where we can actually see where the changes have been made. And we can see the wording that has been made in regards to those sections of the ordinance. Yeah, well, unless it does, well, the only thing that I can see changing before the meeting would be, the wording part of it, that the attorney would suggest be changed. That's the only thing I can see that would happen. I can't see any other changes getting added to any other, section, but I mean,
Or Tuesday.
without having it being done at a council meeting.
But, I mean, well, or any council member could come with their own brand new version.
Well, they could. I don't think that'll happen, but they could.
Well, the other thing though, I think Sean, the attorney, had said that he wanted to capture everything that had been, collected from the board of trustees input, the individual council members input. So again, we'll have to look at it at 5 o'clock on Friday and see what else has been, added or changed,
Right.
because he could very well say, wait a minute,
Sure.
this section has not been discussed in the however many workshops we're up to 4. And so he will either add it, and my sense is he will bring it up. That's kind of what I heard him saying. Is that he wants to make sure everything was at least put on the table, which he would have to do in the second reading section.
I think he's charged, and I agree with that, Bob. I think he's charged more with making sure that the wording of the document kind of aligns legally and also aligns with what the council wants. So I think that's what he's charged with doing, and I think that's, we'll see that before the next meeting, probably, what, Friday? I mean, we're almost there. So on Friday, we'll probably see that, I would think. So,
It's 2:30. So I need a motion to extend the meeting and, we need to decide, are we gonna go over our library policy review? Switch that to next meeting to start that review. And then we also just need to talk about our July meeting, we need to schedule a different date for it. So at the very least, we need to schedule the July meeting. If we want to postpone the policy review, that's fine.
do we have a motion to extend the meeting, by 15?
Yeah, I move to extend the meeting by 15 minutes.
Okay. Second, approved? Say aye. Aye. Okay, all approved? And say aye. All approved by saying aye. Let's say that.
I can't stay past the next, after. the
Yeah,
15th.
we won't stay
And I don't know that that's enough time to review.
Yeah.
policies. I think we.
So that's fine.
And I have, to the last policy, the internet computer and internet use policy. I did some research on some other libraries, hotspot.
Oh, perfect.
And so I have, I made some suggestions to the I have some red lines to the existing, but I worked on it this morning to bring today, so I didn't email to you, but this will give me time. I'll email you what I have, so you can look at the red lines I've suggested, and then what I did is I just copied and pasted like 4 or 5 different hotspot policies at the end from various libraries with a link to those. And then in our next meeting, we'll have time to kind of pick and choose and look at what makes sense for our library and pieces.
Bob?
Right, and I had, a while ago, when we were first looking at this, I had gone through and made some potential changes as well. Particularly around, kind of like what the ordinance was doing, updating the language. Because we talk about damage to a user's computer, but that we're not liable for it. And I added things like mobile phone, tablet, or other electronic equipment. The other thing, is, I said we would, the library takes reasonable steps to protect internet access. So I'll send that to everybody, but I thought we should probably update to like firewalls, malware, and just kind of mention the things that, we want to make sure are covered so that if people look at it, they can't say, well, you didn't tell me that, I could get a virus by logging into the, Wi-Fi. Because that's always been a hot button for me. That and, that we need to clarify on the privacy thing, that what we do in terms of, we clear the history, we clear the captures out, when somebody logs out, and I think we do that.
Yes, we have a
Clarify.
program that does that automatically every time.
Clarify that that's there.
Yes.
It said they automatically delete it, but, I also added, we need to think about, it only deletes on our material, on our systems. We don't automatically delete history on their own stuff. We need to just, I think, clarify that. If I use my iPad there and I'm logged into the Wi-Fi, the library's computers don't touch it. And the library's
No,
network
library
doesn't touch
can
it.
see, if you're logged onto their
Right,
Wi-Fi.
they can see it, but when I log out, they don't clear it. That's what I'm saying. If I log out of the one on the desktop at the library, it clears it. But if I log out of the Wi-Fi and take my unit with it, it doesn't clear it. So I think we just need to be, careful about
How that's working.
Yeah, I'll send it to everybody.
And can you guys make sure that Michaela is on that?
Yeah.
All of those.
Yes.
Perfect.
Michaela will be here with us again next time,
Yes,
And
and I
then-
will be
and
gone.
then you will be gone.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Shauna, for those things on the library review policy. Can we agree to set that policy for more in-depth discussion for the next, put it on our agenda for the next meeting? Okay,
Yeah.
so we can do that. The next, anybody have anything else they want to bring up for discussion? Okay, then we have, a July meeting date, which would be, what is that date? The second, is it the same? It's not the same day as the soiree, is it?
So, yes, it is slated for the soiree date,
Oh,
and
man.
Michaela's gonna be gone that day too, so. we were like, we need to change
change the date.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because that will be a very busy day for everyone.
We
What,
want to do it the following Wednesday, the 19th.
Yeah, we don't want to do it the week before. because
So that's
Fourth of
Fourth of
July.
July.
no, not the week before, yeah. So can we agree to change the date to July 18th
Or 19th.
or 19th? Obviously, you see, I'm calendar challenged.
Oh, so you mentioned the 18th of May and.
I got 18th. Everything is 18th.
That's funny.
I'm good with the 19th.
Okay,
Do we need a motion?
I think we need a motion to change the date, yes.
I move that we change the date of the July Board of Trustees meeting to Wednesday, July 19th at the normal time.
Second,
Second.
okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are good. July 19th will be our next meeting.
Or our July meeting.
Next one's in June.
The next one is, yeah.
Oh,
At the
that's
regular-
the July meeting, sorry, the next one's in June. I told you, calendar challenge.
Is it at least?
Ask my wife if I'm calendar challenged, she will answer yes. Okay, so, the next, what is the second Wednesday in June then? Somebody help me so I get it.
June 14th.
June 14th, okay, good. All right, I think we're good. I want to say thank you to the community members that participated today. I think that's great. It'd be nice if we had even more people there every time we come to these meetings to hear I'd love to hear their responses in regards to the library and the services it provides for our kids and what they liked and what they would like to see in programming and stuff like that. I think that'd be great if we could get that kind of information from our citizens at our meetings. I think that would be super. But anyway, anybody have any other comments before I adjourn our meeting? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, Bob?
Yes. I move we adjourn this meeting, Mr. Chairman.
I second it. No, I'm just kidding. Anybody second it? We'll make it official. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you for remembering me.
Thank you.